Circumference and the roundabout battle. Another great harvest day. But wait, who's that? Asked Edmund Rounds, the castle steward. He pointed to a few small tents, just visible among the trees. It's probably travellers bedding down for the night, answered Circumference. Just then the steward's son bounded up the stairway. Ah, Rounds 2. Keep track of everything in the castle, asked Circumference with a smile. The boy nodded. Everyone called him Round 2, since he and his father were both named Edmund. Papa, I've finished the counts you asked for, he said, handing his father 2 scrolls. As the castle's next steward, Rounds 2 was his father's assistant. Wonderful, exclaimed Steward Rounds. Let's look these over during supper. Steward Rounds studied his son's counts. He murmured. Bread's 33, wheat loaves, barley 29, and 25 rye. But the total is missing. Totals are important. I love counting, but adding up is always hard for me, Round 2 confessed. Let me help you, his kind father said kindly. It's 34, plus 29, plus 25, which equals 88 loaves, and butter, 10 garlic pots, 2 salted pots, 30 herb pots, plus 40 sweet pots. 100 pots, Round 2 called out quickly. It's easy when the numbers are groups of 10, he said. Yes, the student agreed. Adding by tens is quite friendly. But most counts are more complicated. As stewards, our job is to know how much of everything we have in the castle, so we won't run out. For example, there are travellers in our woods tonight who might need breakfast tomorrow. But let's get back to our numbers. Next, the steward said, are the bees in their little homes? And skeps. There are 39 skeps, and, Round 2 interpreted, the beekeeper said each skep housed about 1,000 bees. And he said not to touch the skeps. The bees can get angry. Bees are difficult to count, Steward Rounds nodded. Sometimes knowing approximately how many is fine. But let's finish this up tomorrow, he added, noticing his son stifling a yawn. Flit off to bed now, honey, sweet dreams. As he nodded off, Rounds 2 decided that he would thank his father for his help by rising early to count the travellers. Then they would know how much food he might need. Just before dawn, he slipped out of bed, tiptoed through the kitchens, and crept out a secret door in the castle wall. As he entered the woods, he heard deep snoring. Everyone was asleep. He counted 40 men by an old log. Another 50 were near a campfire. A group of 60 was stretched out under a massive oak tree. That's 150 men, thought Rounds 2. Why so many? Then he noticed a large banner with a distinctive insignia. He also noticed the tiny tents were full of bows and arrows. Uh-oh, he thought. He sprinted back to the castle. Papa, he gasped, shaking his father's shoulders urgently. The travellers in the woods. They have a banner or 2. Hands clutching a chest of treasure. Isn't that? Steward Rounds sat up straight, rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. He asked Rounds 2 to repeat himself. Then he leaped out of bed, and grabbed his son's hands. Stewards, rounds, raced through the castle, his way to circumference, making his way slowly to circumference, and Lady D's bedchamber. The travellers in the woods, there Sir Want-a-lot. Crew, Sir Rounds cried out. Circumference was up in a flash. Prepare to protect the castle, he ordered. Rounds to fetch the bow and arrow, Counts, while your father and I organise the archers. Rounds 2 raced to the steward's room and grabbed the counting scrolls. But then he stopped. The totals. Although Rounds 2 had made the weapons count, he had not added them up. Rounds 2 rushed to the artiller's room, seeking his father's help. But everyone had already left. He decided he must do the adding. He thought back to the counts of the day before. Why can't the numbers of the bows and arrows be friendly tens like the butter, or approximate numbers like the bees, instead of hard to add up numbers like the loaves? Why? Rounds 2 closed his eyes and tried to think. Then he opened them and saw a measuring tape curled in amongst the arrowheads. Feathers and string. It was lined with numbers beginning 0 and ending with 100. Rounds 2 grabbed the measuring tape and started using it to change yesterday's counts of the loaves of bread into their nearest friendly tens. Would the approximate numbers be close to the actual total? He took an arrow and placed it on 34 to mark the wheat bread. He could see that the arrowhead was nearest to the friendly number 30. And then moved the arrowhead to 29, the number of barley loaves. It was also nearest to 30. He located 25 for the rye bread. That was a problem. It's smack bang in the middle between friendly 20 and friendly 30, he thought. Well, the top line of the number 5 seems to point towards the next 10. So I'll make it bigger. 30 it is. Rounds 2 easily added 30 plus 30 plus 30. That's 90. And it was very close to the 88 bread loaves that Papa added up yesterday at supper, he noted happily. Rounds 2 decided to add the archery counts in his fast, new and nearly accurate way. He looked at his list. Longbows, 47. That's approximately 50, he thought. Crossbows, 1 dozen. That's 12, so I'll make it the friendly 10. Shortbows, 36, or about 40. So 50 plus 10 plus 40 is 100 bows. Now for arrows, he murmured. There are 20 to 77. Let's say 77 large bodkins. That's about 80. The 23 medium ones would be approximately 20, and the 98 small ones, the closest friendly 10 is 98 to 98 is 100. So 80 plus 20 plus 100 is 200 arrows. He was done very quickly. He looked at his list with satisfaction before sprinting to the main guard tower. "They attack!" announced Circumference grimly. "Here," said Rounds 2 breathlessly, handing the list to his father, who passed it to Circumference. Circumference and Steward Rounds studied the scroll. "We don't have very many arrows," said the knight, a worried look on his face. Sir Want-a-lot and his men took aim. Thwit, 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 slender shafts streaked overhead. A castle guard peered through the arrow slit. "They're busy as bees down there," he yelled. Busy as bees, thought round 2. This gave him an idea. He rushed to the rampart, took the steps, and pushed them over the edge of the wall. "Bees, go berserk," he commanded. And as each of the 39 steps crashed to the ground, 1,000 bees, more or less, angrily swarmed out and stung the invaders. So Lancelot and his men sprinted away, never to return. "There was a lot of bees," exclaimed Circumference. "Close to 40,000, said Rounds 2 helplessly. "Huzzah!" shouted everyone in the castle. "Huzzah for Rounds 2. "Bazaar is more like it," said Circumference, with a very hearty laugh. Rounds 2 continued to use his method of finding friendly tens when he was adding up a daily castle counts. He discovered that taking exact numbers and making them a little less exact gave him time to count and total more each and every day. As a result, he and his father ran the castle more efficiently. The steward named it the Rounds 2 method. Today, we still use the Rounds 2 idea. When we speak of a number and its closest rounds approximation, we say it rounds to that friendly number.